Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Monday Night Pod. My name is Jeremy Jacobowitz. I'm here with my tag team partner, Adam Welby.
Hey, yo.
And this is the podcast all about the Monday Night Wars, all about the battles between WWF Raw and WCW Nitro. Each and every single week, we go back in time and we re-review every single battle. And every single night, they went head-to-head with the goal to be at the end of the day to find out who really should have won the Monday Night Wars. Adam, why should people listen to what we have to say, though?
Because after the critical, commercial, and spiritual rousing success of Monday Night Pod Underground last week, I can't see how you could possibly do anything but tune in this week to see where these two crazy fellas are heading next in this Monday Night War in 1996. My goodness gracious. I know this started with, us wanting to focus on the shows, but, unselfishly, I think, oh, man, you got to see what we're going to talk about this week. Right? After the craziness of Underground last week? Come on.
It's only been like 6 days. I mean, usually I forget pretty fast what happens in wrestling. It's a blur. That when you said it, I was like, didn't that go away 2 weeks ago? It's like, oh, no. It was back for a second. Yeah.
And then last week we were Monday Night Pod Underground. It was a whole new thing.
Oh, right. Yeah. I see. I even forgot about that. That's one reason. The other reason could possibly be that we both used to work at WWE. Both used to work in WWE Tape Library. Our job starts to watch all of wrestling, so we've watched probably, most definitely, more than you. So that's why we're lending our expertise here.
Expertise. I like that.
It is. Listen, there is stuff in our brain that doesn't exist in anyone else's.
It's true. Yeah, I don't have a piece of paper for it. Wait, hold on 1 second. Yeah. I don't have a piece of paper for it. I don't have a degree in it yet, that is. I'm thinking Monday Night Pod University is the next thing because, if Warrior University could be a thing, why not Monday Night Pod University?
See, it's funny you say that, but I actually did have that on a piece of paper because it was on my resume. No one has watched more wrestling than me.
Okay.
I thought that makes, that's interesting. And it's a fact. It's not made up stuff. I put it on there. I'm like, there's no way. So I'm like, that makes me stand out,
That's a good idea. I think maybe I'll add that like right under languages spoken.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Speak Stone Cold.
That's right. Damn it. Yeah. But, that's not what this pod's about. This pod's about 1996. And because there's not really too much I want to talk about from this past week. Do you have anything, Jer? Nah. In that case,
a big week ahead, I guess, but nothing really to talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
it's NXT SummerSlam and a special Saturday night edition of Dynamite. I think those are pretty big things, right?
Yeah. To get through it quickly, I guess, just because I hate making predictions because we seem to not be great at that.
I'm sorry. I am always right. Didn't I book WrestleMania like a year out?
I think the thing you were most right about was that Brock was going to come in and squash Kofi in like 2 seconds. And
well, I said that. Well, I take that back. I booked Reigns and Goldberg in like October, and I guess that didn't really happen. So it was supposed to, though. I would have had it. It
could still happen. No, it's going to be interesting because like if you look at the combined viewers of both shows on Wednesday nights, you got about 1.5 million, 1.6 people watching wrestling on those nights, right? On their hottest nights. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Wednesday is a big test for NXT coming up because if they can get into the top 25 in the demo, and if they can pass like 1 million in viewers, which should be based on the amount of wrestling fans who are watching those nights, those should both be very attainable goals for them. So
I don't see it happening.
I don't either, but it would be nice for them. And I really wonder what TNT expects out of Dynamite on a Saturday night, because ratings are
well. Here's the thing, though. It's airing right after an NBA playoff game, which you would assume is a much better lead-in audience than some stupid movie that came out 20 years ago. It could be great for them.
That's true. It could be. It also just depends how many people are watching TV on Saturday nights. It's a totally different sort of makeup. True. But some of the biggest players that were on Friday and Saturday nights are gone now. So, or at least for the time being. So there is a very open opportunity for them to. It's going to be a very important week for people who are more important in those companies than we tend to think about. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there's a bunch of fat guys on Squared Circle who know exactly what's up. So I'll listen to them. Exactly.
That's only for our YouTube audience. Unfortunately, by far, the majority of people who listen to this podcast don't understand the joke I just did, but it's fine. Just imagine what you think I would be doing, and then I did it.
That's good.
It's probably even funnier. Okay, so should we get to yes?
All that to my original thought. We got a bang ass time machine, and we should take it to November of 1996.
Yes, understood. Let's go to November 25th, 1996. We're going to start on Raw as we usually do. This episode 186. We are once again taped. Well, this is the first tape, but we're once again coming to you from the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut. Once again, 2 weeks in a row of no show open right into the match. And it is Bret Hart versus one half of our WWF Tag Team Champions, Owen Hart, his brother, with Clarence Mason. This match goes, I keep forgetting how far away I keep this text. The match goes 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll just sort of walk through it a little bit. We see clips of Shawn at Jose Lothario's house. They're teasing that interview kind of late tonight. We see Bulldog watching from the back. Match ends. Bret is going for the sharpshooter, and Austin runs in and just demolishes him with the steel chair, causing a DQ. Austin goes to Pillmanize Bret's ankle, but Bulldog actually runs in to stop it. Him and Bulldog and Owen then fight about it because he literally took the chair off the ankle. Austin tries to do it again. Bulldog once again stops him, so Austin just nails him in the back with a steel chair, and now Owen is pissed with Austin. Chaos everywhere.
Yeah. The ending of the match, the stuff going on there, a lot more exciting than the match itself. It's a very plotting, Hart Brothers style, going to go in there and chain it up kind of thing. And Austin does not hold back with that chair shot, man. Either chair shot, really, to Bulldog as well. Like, he lays into him.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that sums up my feelings, too. The only thing worth watching is the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, really. It was funny because on paper, you're like, oh, yeah, they're starting out with Hart, man. Let's go. And then, like, nah. And it's sad because this is Bret's first match back.
Psycho Sid?
Yeah,
Bret
right. Bret man. Whatever. This is first match back in 6 months. So
on Raw.
On Raw. Yeah, our first time seeing him in 6 months on Raw. So this is a disappointing kind of way to come back, but whatever. We're moving on, and we have some shifts in our story.
Moving on, exactly. We're moving on to the Executioner with Paul Bearer and Mankind versus Freddie Joe Floyd. This match goes 3 minutes and 15 seconds. As the match is starting, we get a little pre-recorded message from Paul Bearer, Executioner, and Mick Foley in the back, just talking. Basically, they're getting to what they're going to do to Freddie Joe Floyd because also the Executioner is facing Undertaker at the pay-per-view. We hear Mick say, "Have a nice day." Was that the first time we heard him say that? Maybe.
Yeah, I think. I feel like we might have heard it in one of we might have heard it in one of his original vignettes, but like, But like, yeah, as far as like him, like, hey, this is the end of my promo. Like, that's probably the first time we've come across it on Monday Night Pod.
Doc updates us on what's happening backstage. He says Austin has left the building, but you never know with him. He could come back. Anyway, Asian Spike is applied to Freddie Joe Floyd, and he passes out or something. I don't know.
Asian Spike is not nearly as cool as the Samoan Spike. Definitely.
No, where the Samoan Spike is a like, bam. The Asian Spike is just like his thumb is in his neck, and very slowly Freddie Joe Floyd goes to sleep. It is a.
It's a headlock. It's a sleeper hold, but you.
Well, the thumb is in it.
But with your free hand, you get your thumb up in there, and then you hold with the other hand, and there you go.
Yeah, this match is nothing.
It was bad, but it was funny seeing Mick Foley standing with the Executioner's
axe
or
whatever.
Yeah, And what was funny was they keep mentioning, the announcers keep selling on this, that the Executioner will be facing the Undertaker in an Armageddon match.
Yes.
And they keep sort of referencing, well, what the fuck is a Armageddon match? And I don't think we really get a clear answer here at all, because they said like no pinfalls, no submissions, no.
Yeah, they said just until one man cannot continue.
Yeah, well, based on the Executioner's cardio, he was barely able to continue through the Freddie Joe Floyd match. So I don't know how.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just a last man standing match.
I wonder if it even happens. Does this match happen?
I don't know.
Well, we'll find out in real time. But versus Freddie Joe Floyd, that sucked. And there you go.
There you go. All right, now we're back. We're live at Jose Lothario's house at Shawn Michaels. Jose says he feels really guilty about Shawn losing the title Survivor Series. He says that his heart was very damaged and he needs heart surgery. Oof, jeez. Maybe he should have gone on the plane.
Medical attention that night, right?
Yeah, really. Shawn says it's announced that Shawn gets a title shot at San Antonio at the Royal Rumble in the Alamo Dome in front of 70,000 fans. So he'll get the title shot there, whoever it may be, Sid, Brett, or whoever. Let's see here. Shawn says that, we will see the passionate Shawn Michaels again. He says that he lost his edge. Shawn yells at Sid, saying that he hit his 62-year-old man to the camera. So he wants Sid, not Brett, at the Royal Rumble. Vince asks Shawn specifically about the MSG crowd turning on him. He says that he wants the fans to enjoy him, but it doesn't matter. He won't beg them. He's here to just be WWF champion. This is very much the opposite of the Shawn Michaels that we've been getting for the past 9 months or whatever year. Like, this isn't white meat babyface Shawn Michaels. This is like heel, pissed off, I'm going to murder people Shawn Michaels. He's a babyface, but definitely leaning heavier on probably who more he really is.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that comes through in both the content and his delivery of this promo. And I was also watching it and I was thinking like, wow, this is by far and away the best HBK promo that we've seen on Monday Night Pod. I think in the context of the Monday Night Wars that we've had so far in our, almost, we're past a year into the wars.
Yep, we're past a year.
Yeah, but we're about 14 months in, and this is like far and away the best Shawn Michaels promo that we've seen so far. I would actually recommend checking this one out if you were to go back and see something.
I agree. It's sort of like the beginning of the Shawn that we will see for the next year and a half before he retires or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's also a step away from, granted, they've been making these small steps here and there, but this is the Shawn Michaels step away from the sort of cartoony childishness of the early shows that we were watching, like that, of Raw becoming Raw,
And the end of Jose Lothario on TV, which I've been begging for. So.
I had a trading card of Jose Lothario. I when I first got into wrestling, one of the first things I got was a pack of trading cards. And as we've discussed before, first night of wrestling I ever watched was when Kane lost the title, which is funny because he would go on to be one of my all-time favorites. But I got this pack of trading cards, and I don't know how long they'd been sitting in that store when I bought them in 1998, but they were clearly like printed in 1996 or no, maybe like 97.
Mm-hmm.
But like they had Jose Lothario, and they had like oh wait, what was the biker guys again? We've talked about them.
DOA.
DOA, that's right. It had DOA, and it had all these guys that I remember, these flash in the pans that were like 96, 97 sort of times for the storytelling. And I remember in 1998 getting that pack and looking through it and thinking like, who the hell is Savio Vega? Because like at that point, as much as we've seen Savio Vega here.
What's funny is I have a very similar story about when I got into it. I really got into wrestling in the summer of 1999. So one of the first things that I did was get the WWF Attitude video game that I believe came out at the end of 1998, maybe originally came out end of 1998, early 1999. When it came out for Dreamcast, when I got it, it came out like October, November, but everything was still 1998 WWF, and end of 1998 WWF and end of 1999 WWF were two completely different beasts. I didn't know who half of the roster was.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know who like anyone was in this trading card pack that I got, and yeah, I remember. But just like the specifically weirdest one was Jose Lothario, because like, what's this 62-year-old man doing in this pack of wrestling cards? Who was he? But like, it was '98, so I didn't have no internet to just go check it out, and I was 10 years old.
You had the internet.
Well, I was 10. You know, I wasn't really on the internet.
No, I was. I was
WWF.
I was on the AOL WWF page. Next up, Sonny comes out to join commentary, replacing JR. Maybe not. But the Karate Fighters tournament, holiday tournament's first. It's Sable versus Sonny. Sonny cheats by using gum on her little man, but the referee finds out and he awards the victory to Sable. So she punches out the referee, and then Top and Gill makes corny gum jokes.
Yep, and King, they both
They both do.
they trade it. It's an arms race of corny gum jokes as they go back and forth.
Yes. We come back. Salvatore Sincere is in the middle of cutting some promo. I don't know.
Oh my god, this is the funniest fucking thing. By the way, I was dying because we've never heard Salvatore do a gimmick before, but it turns out that his gimmick to get heat from the crowd when the cameras weren't rolling was for like a bunch of hokey Italian accordion music playing and him to go like, "Hey, I'm a Salvatore Sincere. I love you all. I'm such a fan of you, and I'm such a fan of wrestling, and I'm a Salvatore Sincere." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, we've heard them do in wrestling like a lot of ethnic stereotype heat before, but I've never heard quite like the gondola music with "Hey, I'm a Salvatore Sincere." And like, all right, they think that's gonna get heat, I guess.
I want to say it's exactly the same thing they did with Barry Horowitz. To be fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I never heard him go on the mic and
yeah, that's true.
I did the Italian impression because I'm Italian, but I'm not going to do the Barry Horowitz impression.
I mean, I could do it, I guess. I don't even know what he did. I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, he's out there, though, because he's facing off against Rocky Maivia. So that's just 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Before the match starts, we get a little pre-recorded message from Don Morocco and Captain Lou Albano with the WWF Hall of Fame saying that Rock is the future, blah, blah, blah. It's getting better than his dad and his grandfather. We come back to Doc, who talks about just speaking to Brett. Brett's all upset, blah, blah, blah. Sonny definitely has eyes for Rocky, whether that's to manage him or maybe something more. She sees something in the Rock. And the shoulder breaker ends it. Rocky wins.
Man, have two people gone on further life paths than Rocky Maivia and Sonny since that moment? Just two paths going in opposite directions, further and further. Yeah, this is it's really fun to see. It's really interesting to see the Rock get out there first. Shoulder breaker's kind of a dumb finisher in 1996. I think it's a very
it's a dumb finisher in 2020.
Oh, of course, but it's a very it's not a dumb finisher in like 1985. You know what I mean? We'd watch when we were.
I wonder if that was his dad's finisher.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe it was like an homage to one of them.
When we were, as Jeremy has mentioned many times, working in the WWE tape library, we would go through things like AWA back in the day. And a lot of those, like that's what a shoulder breaker as a finisher reminds me of. That's like something that you would see on like, Jim Crockett television in the mid 80s or in AWA. It would be perfect for that. But, The Rock will get there, as we know. So,
I looked it up very quickly. Rocky Johnson's finishing moves are either the drop kick, which we did see Rock do, and the Johnson shuffle, 3 left-handed jabs followed by right-handed knockout punch, which we didn't see Rocky do, but maybe that's like Rock does the slaps instead.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. What about High Chief Peter Maivia?
I feel like he wrestles when there weren't finishers.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, I'm going to go onto the Pro Wrestling Fandom Wiki, and I'm going to see if it says anything.
That's exactly where I was.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're on Peter Maivia. No, it says
No, I was on Rocky Johnson. Yeah.
Okay. Well, his finishing move was called this. It was the stump puller, an inverted Boston Crab.
The inverted Boston Crab. So the guy's on his back and he sits up.
Inverted Boston Crab. Identical to a Boston Crab, but the wrestler is facing in the same direction as their opponent. The wrestler squats over their opponent with their legs positioned under their arms. So.
High Chief Peter Maivia was the opposite way, where the other person was the same way.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Wait, no. Yes. That's it. Makes sense. So that's
knowledge.
Whew, that we pulled from Wrestling Wikipedia as we called ourselves out on it in the middle of it. But, there we go. Rocky Maivia. He's off to the races. Let's do it.
There he is. Next up, Mark Mero and Sable backstage to talk about Hunter S. Helmsley being ringside for Mark Mero's match, which is coming up next. Doc Hendrick is backstage and tells us that Owen and Bulldog have figured things out, and Bulldog wants Austin now too. And then it is our main event. Billy Gunn versus Mark Mero with Sable. Okay. As I said before, Hunter has drawn commentary for this match. No entrance from Mark Mero. This is literally the main event of the show.
And we're basically reintroducing the Wild Man here as like a much more aggressive, much more direct type.
Right. After being bitched out all summer.
Yeah.
Basically, on commentary, they're fighting the entire time about Hunter and Sable's past, because remember, Hunter is the one who originally brought Sable in here. Anyway, at one point, Hunter leaves commentary to go stalk Sable. Mero sees this, goes to the outside to get in Hunter's face. Billy uses this distraction to nail Mero on the back, and then they go into the ring. Hunter then jumps in too. It's 2-on-1, so the ref calls for a DQ. And Jake Roberts runs in for the save, and Raw goes off the air.
Yeah, King's yelling that Jake just came from a bar. Actually, Hunter on commentary throughout this match was very, very good. I was like actually entertained by how much he was living the gimmick, and he was talking about how like that's what I do. I use people like yesterday's garbage and I throw them out. That's what you do when you're you know, what did he say? You're not in the 1%, because that wasn't the thing back then. But you know, he's living the gimmick. He's like, you know, he's saying, oh, you know, Sable, she's still got one of my cars, you know. It was funny. That was the main focus. I was actually quite disappointed, because you think Billy Gunn and Mark Mero could put on a decent match, but it wasn't that.
Do you?
Mero is usually going balls to the wall, trying to do things. And, you know, as part of the Smoking Guns, Billy Gunn has always been a great worker, and we know that. But maybe, as you were talking about, the thing that hindered his singles run here is kind of into play. Hard to say, but yeah, like you said, that's the end of Raw.
I mean, interesting too that they quickly brought up Mr. Perfect, but where is he at? Didn't he just turn on Mero to like be Hunter's manager?
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially like now that you got a block of taped shows. Like, yeah, did he just not make it up from the city after Survivor Series? It's not that long of a drive if you rent a car. Come on.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. That's Raw. Any final thoughts, I guess?
Not really, but like I liked enough of some stuff in the show that I'm coming out of it without a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of continues. I would say it was worse in the past few weeks, but I'd say it sort of continues a streak of like, it chugs along and I have no real issues, and it finishes nicely and has good pacing. Is there anything good? The Shawn Michaels promo, I think, was the best.
Yeah.
There's no matches to go back and see.
You get to see the debut of the Raw debut of The Rock if you want to.
Sure. I would recommend going to watch Survivor Series if you want to see The Rock's first.
Sure. Right.
Match.
Well, this this show benefited from being 1 hour. I'll say that. If they had to fill up 2 hours with this level of not garbage, but like some of it was garbage, Execution versus Freddie Joe Floyd is garbage. Like if they had to fill up 2 hours with that kind of with that level quality of content, I would have been much more upset leaving this viewing. But
I mean, I wish all wrestling was 1 hour. But
I think 2 hours works for one show a week. I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I'm feeling right. But when you have two 2-hour shows or one 3-hour show and a 2-hour show, two 2-hour shows on top of that,
I will say also,
too much.
It would work if Bischoff fucking had real commercial breaks, but that 2-hour show is not a 2-hour, like it's not the time it would be with the normal commercial breaks. Like those 2-hour shows are like almost an hour and 50 minutes. I'm like, come on, Bischoff. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Get more commercials in there, you bastard. I think it's because they come on early, they stay late, and they probably take less commercial breaks than other programming. Like the 2-hour show is just like, oh, what a drag. You have to watch it straight.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot.
Only a complaint that you're going to have watching it on the network now. Obviously, it's not a complaint to back in the day. I'm just saying he cheats. It's not even a real 2-hour show.
Right. Or even in general, when you watch stuff and you're like,
or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're just getting more show. Like, it's the most first world problem to complain about ever. But yeah, you're right. Well, I think we can get into that a little bit more when we talk about Nitro.
Great. Well, why don't we do that, Adam? Let's go. This episode 63 Nitro, and we are coming to you live from the Wico Miko?
Sure.
Wico Miko Civic Center in Salisbury, Maryland. Apologies to the fine folks of Salisbury. I can't even say your town. Whatever, who cares? It's somewhere. Tony and Larry opened the show. They talked about World War III being last night and Piper signing the contract for his match against Hogan at Starrcade. We will get the entire promo later tonight. Nitro, or the entire segment, I mean. And a new U.S. title tournament begins tonight because remember, Ric Flair was our champion. He was taken out by the NWO. Giant has been walking around with the title, but he's not the actual title holder. And that begins the first match tonight, which is that U.S. title tournament. It is Arn Anderson versus Lex Luger. This match goes 13 minutes. Spooky. Arn is coming. He's been hurt from last week. He's all taped up. He's back. So Lex starts working over the lower back as Arn looks to be taking working over the back of Arn and looks like he's taking control. As the Giant starts screaming from the stands, he's there with the U.S. title. He complains that he is the real champion and the winner of this tournament could actually just face him. Luger clotheslines Arn over the top rope. I don't know if you want to talk about this now or later, but I'm more privy to paying attention to this DQ top rope thing after last week. There are countless times people are clotheslines over the top rope tonight. There's no DQ. And there's another time where someone is thrown over the top rope and then the commentary even mentions it tonight. And they're like, is that a DQ? No, I guess not. It's like, what? I do not understand. First of all, the rule's stupid, but I do not understand the rule if it's never enforced and never even brought up. If you close someone in the middle of the ring and their momentum makes them fly out, okay. If they're on the ropes, which is what it was here, and you clothesline them and he goes flying over the top rope, wouldn't that be a DQ?
Didn't they both go over? I can't remember.
It's a double DQ. I don't fucking know. But the idea is like I don't get the rule to begin with. Maybe this is where all my issues start. But you either call it or it's one of these things like call it or don't call it. And the fact that you did it last week means I'm going to be paying attention. And now you can't just do it in every single match now.
Right. Well, I guess I could understand if you were trying to define the rule by like, yeah, if you grab somebody and threw them out over it, still dumb, of course. But if you did that as opposed to clotheslining out, but you're right, confusing as all hell. But
anyway.
Sidetrack
there. They fight to the outside. Lex, like a dummy, decides to lock in the rack on the outside, and they both get counted out anyway. the bell rings, and then the announcer's like, "What? I mean, 8, 9." So clearly, the ref didn't call for it. The bell just rang. They thought that was into the match. Whatever. The bell officially rings later. But yes, it's a double count out.
You know who the true winner of this match is whoever was seated against them in the tournament next, because you have to imagine that Arn Anderson and Lex Luger are pretty high-seeded competitors in that. So if you're, Disco Inferno versus Psychosis in the next round or whatever, and you're going to get a bye now because Arn and Lex went to a double count out.
Two interesting points there. One, we never see a bracket.
Nope.
We're never even told how many people are in the tournament.
Nope.
How many rounds there are. There are no rules set forward. That's something. Two, what happened to the women's tournament? Didn't they start that also with no brackets and no mentions of who's actually in it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We
So-
knew that Medusa was in it, and we knew that.
Well, I mean, we saw a match, so we know two. We saw two matches, maybe.
Yeah. Because the other one was with Sonny Ono's lady, whose name was like 0 or something, or 8.
Yeah, something weird.
Yeah, she was a member of the Dark Order.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That's long-term storytelling right there.
long-term booking, baby. Well,
Cody's like, I remember my dad saying something about this thing.
well,
right,
I'm
anyway.
a sucker for a tournament, especially a tournament that ends with the title. So I could be stoked about this. What I don't like is I need at least 16 competitors in a tournament. I don't like short tournaments,
Yeah,
Like,
fair.
if it's 8, that's too little for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would generally agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm not against 8, but I agree. It should be 16.
I mean, you can do a fine tournament with 8. I mean, as we're recording this podcast, there's the, AEW's got the women's tag team cup tournament going on. I'm pulling for.
Is that even canon?
Yeah, because they're gonna have the final. They're gonna have the final on Dynamite.
Oh, okay. I thought when you don't mention anything on TV and put it not even on your YouTube show, it's just it's like the Puppy Bowl. It's like it happened, but we're not really talking about that.
It on TV. I'm pulling for Big and Lil Swole in the tournament rather than, even though Smart Money is probably on the Nightmare Sisters, but I'm pulling for Big and Lil Swole. Anyway, love a tournament. Wish we had more details, and excited to see. I mean, Giant has a point. He's got the title. Come get it from him. So
that is not a good point. That's not how wrestling works.
That's not. But you know what? He took out Ric Flair. He took out the champion, and he's saying, he's got the belt. Unless they can figure out a way to remove it from him, because one of the things that bothered me. I mean, obviously, you could pick apart the summer of Punk till the cows come home, right? But one of the biggest things that bothered me with that entire thing is when they had their tournament to recrown a new WWE champion, and Rey Mysterio was champion for 1 hour and 32 minutes before John Cena got the title, and CM Punk came back, and Cena had his belt and he's holding it up, and Punk had his belt and he's holding it up, and Punk has the legitimate belt. He is the one with the legitimate legacy and everything like that. It made no sense whatsoever for the John Cena character, who is the most honorable, straightforward, all about paying your dues and doing the right thing and respecting your history and the legacy of wrestling. It made no sense whatsoever for that John Cena character to not put that title down and recognize that Punk had the belt and that was the real one to go for. But that never happened. It was just unified.
Two things. One, how about the fact that he challenged Ray after winning already that night? If you're saying he's just amazing person as he is, when he's been like, why don't you, let's wait a week, recover, and then I get you. Also, what's so interesting with that is the precedent has actually been set in the WWE for this situation, Remember when they did the original draft, or not the original draft, but the original, maybe it's the original, not the original draft, but whatever they fuck called.
You're going
When
are you in 2003? Is that what you're thinking?
No, this is in, that's why I said the original one. This is in 2006. Batista is your World Heavyweight Champion on Raw. John Cena is your WWE Champion on SmackDown. The number one pick for Raw is John Cena. So, and they did this draft over the course of a few weeks. Cena comes over. Now there are 2 championships on Raw. So SmackDown with GM Teddy Long decides, okay, if we don't have a champion, we are going to crown a new SmackDown Heavyweight Champion in a new tournament. So they have this entire tournament, which JBL wins. JBL wins the match, and Teddy Long goes, playa. Actually, you're not the new champion, because guess what? This is our newest draft pick, and out comes Batista with the World Heavyweight Championship. But in that case, JBL did get a title shot, but it was not crowned it wasn't champion versus champion. So the precedent for this exact situation happened, sort of.
No, you're right. I just want to put it out there for our audio listeners that Jeremy was doing some real great Teddy Long dances while he was going through every one of his Teddy Long impressions there. You really saw it in his shoulder, and really captured the vibe of Theodore Long in the mid-2000s SmackDown era. But you're totally right. Just frustrates me that, like, you knew where the real legitimacy of it was. Although I guess in this tournament, you know what, you've talked me out of it now that I've had time to gestate on it in my head. If Flair had to relinquish the belt from being unable to defend it for 30 days, then it does actually make total sense for the tournament to be where that person is crowned, because that's where the legacy of that belt leads to. It doesn't lead to the Giant just holding it. So you're right. My first initial thought of facing the Giant was stupid. And this is why it's important that we have these long-form discussions here on Monday Night Pod.
Oh, speaking of the Giant, Adam, here he comes along with a lot of the NWO, not most of the NWO, but it's Eric Bischoff, Giant, Nash, Six, Hall, and Vincent all coming out. This is Eric's promo to explain why he turned. And good on him. He actually gives a reason. We don't see that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Basically, he says that after the Outsiders attacked him, he woke up the next morning and decided, like, hey, like, I have to get on their side because, like, this is what's happening. So the best thing I could do is be a part of it. So since that moment, he's been man behind the scenes, pulling the strings of all the weird NWO stuff that's been going on. He says that WCW wrestlers have 30 days to sign NWO contracts because you're either with us or you're against us. Let's see what happens. First ones that want to do that, American Males come out. Obviously, they've been having issues the past few weeks. They come out sort of still bickering with each other. But Marcus gets to the ring, high fives everyone. Riggs is, looks a little hesitant. He's sitting there like, I don't know. He's not showing he wants to be NWO. So guess what? Bagwell goes up to him, hugs him, then hits him with a neck breaker, and they all beat the shit out of
him. As he should get the shit beat out of him for walking right in the middle of an NWO ring. Are you crazy? If you're not planning on joining him? But no, this is exciting. Getting on with the Bagwell stuff. We're gonna get into Buff Bagwell soon. I'm excited.
Soon. Next up is DDP versus Disco Inferno. This match goes 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Diamond Cutter out of nowhere ends it.
DDP is getting the biggest reactions next to Lex Luger. Like, both of these guys are blowing the roof off of that place. Well, Flair's not there this night. That's
right. Tonight, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a Flair match in over a month, so it's tough to compare them. But, like, just seeing who the crowd is hot for tonight, man, Lex Luger and DDP. DDP is on fire at this point.
Yep. Mean Gene gets the ring to interview DDP again. Like, they've been questioning back and forth of, like, is he going to be NWO, WCW? He's not really shown which way he's going to go. Mean Gene brings up a lot of good points. He says that, you and Scott Hall go back really far. He brought him in. You and Kevin Nash were even a partner. Mean Gene then questions him that, he's neighbors with Bischoff. All these connections, all these things make sense. Like, it would make total sense if you were NWO. DDP says that he didn't know about Bischoff being part of the NWO, and now it makes him look like a moron, but he sort of like saunters away, not giving any real answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he even calls him out for having, like, too short of a response when he asks about, like, you live right across the street from Bischoff. He's like, yep. Or whatever. Or he says, like, it is what it is or something like that. Right. But, I mean, Gene's like, well, what do you mean? What do you just mean? Yes. And, it's exciting.
Yep. Next up, WCW TV title match. Tony Pena versus our TV champion, Steven Regal. This match was 3 minutes. Tony Schiavone points out that Regal is actually the only heavyweight champion left in WCW because all the other belts, besides the light heavyweight championship, or cruiserweight championship, sorry, it's part of the NWO right now. So Regal has to hold up the entire company on his back. And he does here. Regal stretch ends it.
Yeah, it's a nothing match. It's really quick, but you're right. That's the most important point that's brought it all from this. And by the way, Tony Schiavone, I mean, as we've discussed before, still just as sharp as ever on Dynamite. But Schiavone,
I'd say he's better now than he was then.
Yeah, but he's carrying a lot of the load tonight on commentary. Schiavone is really good.
With Eric gone, yeah. Mean Gene is in the ring.
I was pondering this while I was watching this show. Do you think, and now it's probably a definite no, but before AEW was a thing, do you think that Tony Schiavone would have ever ended up in the Hall of Fame?
I think he deserved to, but we know that's not really how the Hall of Fame works. Right. So no. Only because it takes people going to bat for you, and I don't really think there's anyone in the WWE that would have felt strongly enough to be like he needs to be in, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's such an important part of wrestling history with how involved he was with WCW. And
he was in WWF too, like he had history everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. But like he never was in WWF post WCW. You know what I mean? Which is interesting because so many people got a shot even on like a Sunday Night Heat or like something extra, and they were never interested in giving Schiavone a shot, which is sad. But
I feel like it's more him not wanting to do it. I mean, he made it clear for years that he just didn't want to be part of wrestling. I think I believe the story is it just took him forever to sort of come around to wanted to be a part of it, and then the AEW opportunity came up. It was just the perfect storm of like, oh, I missed this. It's been 20 years, but I think it took 20 years to get to that for him.
Well, wrestling missed you too, Tony.
Yes. Next up, Mean Gene is on the ramp with Rick Steiner. Rick says that he has been in Japan recently. That's why I haven't seen him. Says him and Scott are 110% WCW, and in the recap, they just like. He's like the fucking narrator, just recaps what's been going on between WCW and NWO. Thank you, Rick Steiner. Next up, WCW U.S. title tournament continues. Our Mexican champion, Conan. I guess they don't count him as a real champion. He didn't have a belt this week. Did he have the belt?
No, I didn't see a belt.
No. And also it's a made-up title. Versus Eddie Guerrero. This match goes 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Really like fast-paced, moving and grooving to start. Hour 2 begins in the middle of the match. Tenay, Heenan are on commentary. Tony will join them in a few minutes. Eddie reverses Conan and falls into him and pins him for the win. Like Conan's doing something, Eddie just reverses it on top of him and just literally falls on top of him.
It does that Guerrero thing where he can get somebody tangled up out of nowhere and then he spin falls. So, yeah, Eddie Guerrero moving on in the tournament. I would like to see Eddie Guerrero win the U.S. title here. But we shall see.
Yeah, the match was fine.
Yeah. It was, I even wrote like not a lot of highlights.
Eddie did his couple spots.
Yeah, I really would have expected more out of these two guys, which sort of seems to be a theme tonight. But let's see. Maybe I'll put all my hope in the next match for that.
Well, first up, Tony, Tenay, and Bobby talk about World War III again. But yes, next match, it is Big Bubba, Jimmy Hart versus Rick Steiner. Wow, this match was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Sting is in his stance and makes his way to the ring. Sting comes in, hits a Stinger Death Drop on Rick Steiner, and Bubba pins him for the win. Rick had actually been questioning Sting in the original interview, and even as he was coming down the ramp, the camera mics are on, and he's like, Sting. So it's like, this wasn't an out of nowhere attack. Rick was running his mouth about Sting,
Yeah. And I think your quote might have been real because he barks, But Sting.
It was even usually the camera mics aren't on. I mean, they are, but they're not really turned up, so you can't really hear him. To hear him walk down the ramp, which takes like a minute and a half, and just bark like a dog is very unsettling.
Yeah, but I love it. As we've discussed, I'm a huge Rick Steiner mark. But this is interesting because yes, he is talking shit, but also we aren't sure if Sting is involved with the NWO or not yet. And
Right.
tell you what, that's he's attacking one of the guys who just said that he's 100% WCW. So that is questionable.
He attacked Jeff Jarrett, who also said he was 110% WCW. So,
oh boy, we're seeing a theme.
Storytelling. Next up, Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio Jr. This match goes 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Senny Unknown, Ultimo Dragon, watch on from the entranceway. Rey is thrown over the top rope in a situation. This time, good job at a commentary. They say, "Isn't that a DQ?" Guess not. Psychosis goes for, he's on a top rope with Rey. He goes for a splash mountain, I believe. Rey reverses it mid-air.
I was going with a crucifix bomb. I thought would be.
Maybe from the top. I don't fucking know. Rey was able to reverse it in mid-air and hit a Hurricanrana for the win.
Yeah, it was one of the scariest, coolest things I've seen Rey do yet. That was like, you get a 2 minute and 15-second match here, which totally sucks because Psychosis and Rey Mysterio could obviously do some crazy lucha shit, but they do manage to get that spot in as their big finish, and it's like, whoa, that was crazy.
That was cool.
Yeah.
But yes, other than that, nothing in the match. Next up, Mean Gene interviews Chris Benoit and Woman and entranceway to talk about the match that he had with Kevin Sullivan at World War III. Benoit is rocking a pretty nasty black eye. He says that he got the best from Sullivan in Dungeon of Doom, and it still was enough to get rid of him. Woman says that it's over now, and the two of them walk away.
Oh boy, yeah, and Woman's she's even got kind of a different look at this point. She's got her hair is a lot like more.
She's looking more like I would say like a normal person.
Yeah, less stitched together, less prom queen kind of look to her. Yes. Yeah, but yeah, it was an all right promo from Benoit, who we know is not known for his promo work.
Nope.
Huh?
Next up, they toss to a 20-minute segment that is a replay of the segment from last night of Piper signing the contract to face Hogan. As I do when these things come up, I do not watch them. I will tell you generally what happens, but I was not sitting through 20 minutes of something that wasn't officially part of the show.
Wow.
He comes out, Bischoff comes out, they all yap, yap, yap. Hogan comes out, they yap, yap, yap. Hogan points out that Piper had hip surgery, shows off like the really nasty scar on his hip, and then the NWO beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I watched the whole thing just because I didn't realize it was going to be 20 minutes, but WCW has done this a couple of times, not too often, but they've done it a few times where they replay something from a pay-per-view on free TV, which of course, is great. In the 90s, if you could get a little free pay-per-view for nothing, that's great. But they show like full entrances when they do it.
It's like not cut down, nothing. Yeah. It is just, we're not doing any work to this. We're just going to put it out here.
Yeah, here's the footage that we shot yesterday. Bam, right there. No, nothing being tightened up, nothing whatever. And it's so like when you're watching that replay and you're watching like the full entrance of Piper and then Bischoff with the NWO and them on commentary talking about it during the entrances. It's like, why are we watching this full thing? Like, did Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis really have to be 2 minutes and 15 seconds so we could get to allowing more time for entrances in a contract signing replay?
I mean, especially just because, listen, Piper is great, but he's known to be a little bit of a rambler. And it's just like, not that it's bad, and I think it is worth watching if you really want to watch it. I don't think it's bad necessarily. Like, the image of the scar and going after the hit is, what sets the stage for this gigantic match. It is an important moment for this feud and in the scheme of things, WCW and NWO.
Yeah.
But I don't need a 20-minute segment. That's not part of the show on the show.
No, I agree. And we spent too much time on our show talking about it. Darn it.
There you go. Next up, Alex Wright versus Jeff Jarrett. This match goes 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Figure 4 leg lock. Alex submits.
I thought Double J was being a little more heelish in this match. You know, even though they know that people cheer for Ric Flair because he's supposed to be pulling these plays out of Ric Flair's book, his figure 4 is, totally grabbing the ropes while the ref's back is, which is, you're either a full-blown heel or you're Ric Flair doing that. So it's interesting to see them kind of dipping into this. We might be getting a little towards a Double J heel turn. Yeah. About the match. Do you have any thoughts?
Figure 4 leg lock and Alex submits.
It's bummer because we know what a great worker Alex Wright is. But
I mean, he hits his spots, and they're actually. I mean, we said this the first time we saw him a year and a half ago. It's like, wow, he's a tall dude that could actually do some cool moves, but just the same. But yeah, that same move, the head scissors takedown that we saw a year and a half ago.
Yeah, no, I mean,
let's talk about it again.
Alex Wright, yeah, he's interesting to me. He's got like Randy Orton's exact build, kind of. If you look at him, being
if he ever put on more muscle,
yeah, maybe a little more muscle, but Wright is pretty Jacked. All right.
He's very lanky. Not to say that he couldn't beat the shit out of me. I'm just saying
Yeah,
his body is very lanky. So he either puts on he needs to stop just doing arm and chest days or something, or get more gear to not make you look like you have turkey legs.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. He does have chicken legs.
Chicken legs, sorry, yes. Close enough. We see photos from last night once again. This time we see Giant winning the 60-man Battle Royal World War III. He gets a title shot for winning, but they question whether this title shot is really going to happen because why would Giant take on Hogan?
Yeah. You want that infighting in the NWO? That's an interesting prospect, but I wouldn't think so. Not if you're the NWO. And also, everyone knows Hollywood Hogan is so about Hollywood Hogan. So actually, it would set up the cards though for a excellent face turn. We shall see where it goes.
It's like we know something about wrestling. Next up, it's our main event: Faces of Fear versus Harlem Heat with Sister Sherry. This match goes 4 minutes. Well, like every Faces of Fear and Harlem Heat match, they beat the shit out of each other for a few minutes, and then the NWO run out and really wreak havoc, beating the shit out of all of them, and that's how we go off the air.
Yeah, that stringing that last hour together is almost painful. Because
every match is 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, so that's Nitro, and I'll say I decently enjoyed the first hour of Nitro. And I think it might have been the worst second hour that we've ever seen.
Yes, a few things. One, that is sort of, except for last week, that's sort of what we've seen with Nitro recently. And I get confused about all these timings. Remember a few weeks ago when Vince announced that Raw was going to be an hour early? I wonder if it's still an hour early, and that's why WCW is sort of stacking the first hour more than hour 2.
Yeah.
It's confusing on what times these shows aired.
That's a good point because Arn versus Luger in a tournament match is a lot more of a main event than Faces of Fear versus Harlem in a match where they said this will surely help determine who a number one contender is going to be. It's not a number one contender match, but they're talking about we'll know better who is going to be in line for a title shot depending on who wins this match.
Right. And even the Bischoff stuff happens in hour 1. Yeah, it seems just very front loaded, and I imagine that's the reason why.
Yeah,
could be wrong, but that's what I mentioned. But yes, that is Nitro.
When is Nitro? What do you think, Jared? Is there anything you recommend going back and checking out?
The Eric stuff. I mean, it's his first promo as a heel for real. So
yeah,
it's interesting to see how that character develops. Sort of not smarmy enough Eric yet, but at least he he's definitely heel, and I like that he gave legitimate answers. It wasn't like, why Eric, why, and him being like, well, you guys don't deserve an answer why, which WWE fucking loves doing because they're just too lazy to write real reasons for anything. So it's interesting that like, the story was there, and then like you go back and connect the dots, and you're like, oh wow, look at all those things that were sort of weird coincidences actually now make total sense, which is fantastic writing.
It's funny because you'll bring it up from time to time. And we've even discussed this from before we had a podcast about how there will be WWE storylines where it just like beats you over the head with it, right? And it's just like, hey, dummies, understand. This is what it is. This is what we're doing, right? And I'd always, when we discuss that, I'd always be like, but they're wrong about it. They don't have to be so on the nose all the time. Like, people can understand they can understand subtlety to a character. They can understand subtlety to a story. They can understand like when things need a slow burn or where it's going or whatever. Man, was I wrong, and have I learned that because of people's reactions when we're discussing it to Cody's TNT title reign, which is only a reign of terror. Like if you watched last week, he has his new mantra, the Prince of Professional Wrestling, which is like my favorite fucking thing ever. Like, what a perfect thing for that character. But like, people will be all over bitching about how, well, it's just LOL, Cody wins now, I guess. It's like, no, it's not just that. Like, it's a slow story that's going in a lot of different places, and it's matching with this gimmick and whatnot. But it's so much, but there's so like many levels of subtlety and grayness to it that you have to like let percolate, as opposed to what you've always said, where it's just like, hey dummies, this is what it is. And like, I guess that's what it has to be, because like at least 2/3 of people will just not get it if they have to spend even like a half a second thinking about it.
But if it works out, I think it's just we've been conditioned by WWE where like we pretend like those things are happening, but that's not happening.
Right.
We're like, we know, we saw that hint, we know, we get it, and then it's like, no, we made all that stuff up. There's no subtlety here. There's no hints. We just wanted to believe so bad that there's long-term storytelling WWE that we make it up in our heads. But then it never comes to fruition because there isn't any.
Yeah. There, like so many people were talking about how like on Friday, Braun and the Fiend did a double turn. I'm like, at the end of SmackDown, I'm like, I don't know, like, let's give it a little bit more to figure out if that's what it really happened. Oh my God. One current thing that I would love to bitch about before we give our final thought about which show is better.
The floor is yours, Adam.
Oh, well, thank you. My new least favorite thing in all of professional wrestling is, of course, something that WWE is doing right now. They did it on Raw and they did it on SmackDown. It's turning off the lights in the Performance Center for a bump that they don't want to show or don't think they can show. So, like when Randy Orton's running to punt Ric Flair, the lights go down. Why does Randy Orton have the lights go down when he's going to punch Ric Flair? And then when Braun Strowman picks up Alexa Bliss and throws her in the air, the lights go down. Like what?
Adam, there are saboteurs in the WWE. This isn't Strowman and Randy Orton doing this.
Okay, so
this is retribution.
You think that Randy Orton and Braun Strowman are involved with retribution?
No, I'm just saying it's coincidence.
Oh, okay, all right.
I also think that I could absolutely see at SummerSlam Ric Flair coming out and pretending like backstage, be like, Drew, I'm gonna help you. I'm all fucking mad, and then turn on Drew, and then Randy and Rick laugh. Like, we got you. Of course, the lights went out. I wasn't gonna kick him in the head.
All right, but you're getting some very subtle storytelling here. I'd be with you if they didn't do the same thing for not wanting to show Braun Strowman hurt Alexa Bliss by throwing her.
Well, this goes to my theory that I put out there that Retribution is actually being run by Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Okay.
He is upset by what his children have done to his company. And we've seen him get mad and try and destroy his company before when he brought the NWO in. So he's getting back at all of them by being like, Paul, Shane, Stephanie, you tried to destroy my creation. Nobody destroys it but me. So guess what? It was me all along.
That's right.
And then there you go.
It's time for retribution.
See?
Yeah. It makes too much sense. Oh, boy. Wow. Jeremy, who won the fight between Raw and Nitro on November 25th, 1996?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you need a moment to think here, I'm going to say,
I will say, finishing both shows right after watching, I felt better about Nitro. Going through these notes with you, I almost feel better about Raw. I don't know.
See, I would say that I felt better coming off of Raw in the end, because that last hour of Nitro was just kind of bad. Like, other than Psychosis, Rey Mysterio, top rope reversal crucifix bomb thing that was insane, like, there's nothing there. And then, well, the first hour of Nitro was good. I sort of, like, we've seen better Arn and Lex matches. Bischoff thing was interesting. DDP versus Disco Inferno. Well, you get a good DDP promo and a good Diamond Cutter. I mean, it's DDP versus Disco Inferno. I find that the importance of the Shawn Michaels promo with Jose Lothario on Raw, and the even though it's not important for the character, but the significance of Rocky Maivia's Monday Night Raw debut, I think, puts Raw above Nitro on this night.
Fair. All right. We'll give it to that. So Raw is the winner in our books. Who's ever keeping track of it at home for us. We applaud you. So put the check mark next to Raw for that one. And obviously, Americans did not agree because they're in the middle of the 83-week beat down by Nitro. Nitro gets a 3.1 and Raw gets 2.1.
Ooh, wow. They got trounced. They got slapped around. Woo! Interesting. Well, good thing that they are throwing out all the stops now with spicy Shawn Michaels interviews and Rocky Maivia. I mean, it's weird because I mean, NWO is so hot and people are so excited to see where that's going and everything like that. My 32-year-old brain in 2020 has no interest really in this Hogan Piper matchup, right? Like, it's just it doesn't sound like something that I want to see. It doesn't sound like something I want to go back and see from this time. It's very hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody in 1996 and think like what they might have wanted to see, because clearly it's resonating with audiences.
I mean, if you think about it, these guys, Hogan has been on top for a decade, at least more than a decade. Piper was the best heel, probably lived the late 80s. They never had a blow-off match. It still is a dream match. And, we act like they're both so old. We watch guys way older wrestle every single week on WWE and don't think twice about it. So,
and we've seen Hogan like do a couple of great matches. But how old do you think they both are at this point?
Mid to late 40s.
Yeah, I guess. Which you're right. Like, doesn't necessarily mean that you're not able to go anymore. But I don't know. It's a throwback sort of match. It's that late 80s era kind of thing, and they worked like such a different style. So it's so weird to think about a Piper Hogan match on the same show that might have Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. Right. You know what I mean? But whatever. Not our worst both shows that we've ever had to watch on a night, I have to say.
No. Easy peasy. That's it. I did get a note from our wonderful fans when I was asking about the Vince McMahon promo of good guys versus bad guys. We are a year away from that happening. So
Ooh.
I was in right. I knew it was December. It's just December 1997, not December 1996. So I will save that impression in 1 year. Come back to me, and I'll get back to that.
It's going to be a wonderful Christmas present. I'm looking forward to it.
Any final thoughts on them?
Oh, not on these shows. So many other final thoughts on Life, on the Post Office, on Ghost of Tsushima. Great game. Highly recommend picking it up. I'm still waiting for that AEW game. Still waiting. I mean, of course, you could just jump into the online creator wrestlers in WWE game, because the things that people make on those are incredible, or some Fire Pro Wrestling. But I want me an AEW video game. All right, let's get there.
I'm sure Omega's working on it.
Okay, good.
All right. Bye.